Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is episode number 68 of Couples Unboxing AI webinar series. So we do this every week, every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Indian time, where we call one of our guests, who's our friend, collaborator, or partner, to just unbox various aspects of AI. So uh, for those of you who don't know what Carpal is an end-to-end enterprise imaging AI platform. We are the world's largest marketplace with 175 plus AI applications, and happy to host this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Orit Wimpfheimer, for doing this for us. Means the world. So I'll quickly introduce, Dr. Orit. So she's held the position of the Chief Medical Officer and Head of Product Strategy at Zebra Medical Vision until it was acquired by Nanox. She's also the co-founder of Remote Radiology International with over 20 years of experience in the radiology field. She received her medical degree from Albert Einstein College of Medicine and did her diagnostic radiology residency from New York. Thank you so much, Dr. Orit. So my first question to you would be that, how would you describe what you do to a 5-year-old?
So first, I'd like to say thank you for hosting me. It's a pleasure to be here. It was nice to meet you and caught up a little bit before the webinar started. So it was great to meet you. I am a radiologist. My kids laugh at me. They say you're not a doctor, but I tried to explain to them that doctors could evaluate patients in lots of different ways. And doctors can use a physical exam or asking the patient their history. But the cool thing about radiology is that we get to see inside the patient without even talking to the patient. So imaging is a great opportunity to be able to really understand the patient from head to toe in lots of different modalities. So I got excited about imaging back when I was a medical student. And I did my diagnostic radiology residency at Columbia Presbyterian, my fellowship. And then I decided that I wanted to move to Israel, in which case I need to figure out how to do that. That was the beginning of ADSL, so that's a long, long time ago. I moved in 2001, and I co-founded a teleradiology company that provided services from Israel to hospitals on the East Coast, and it still functions to this day. We have many hospitals in many of the states on the East Coast, and we provide overnight reads, whereas it's daytime here in Israel. So I have a daytime job doing radiology, doing nighttime reads in the US, which is kind of cool. We have radiologists from all over the world who are part of our company, and that's the world of radiology. In about 2018, I said, okay, that was the revolution in the early 2000s, but the revolution now is AI, and it really is a big revolution. I wanted to get involved, so I contacted Zebra Medical Vision, which is a company based here in Israel, and I was clinical director and quickly moved to chief medical officer. And I've been really researching the world of AI and the benefits of AI in the world of imaging, but not just for radiologists, also for the benefit of patients and the benefit of clinicians down the road. It really is going to take some time to find the best use cases. Overall, there are many, as you said, you have 175 companies associated with Carpal. Each one brings something else to the table. And it's a very interesting world to be in. So to my 5-year-old, I would say I'm a doctor that can see inside people to help diagnose them. And I use artificial intelligence as a tool, just like a physician would use a stethoscope or a blood pressure machine. Right now, we're learning how to use our new tool, which is AI, to help diagnose those patients.
So it is very interesting that you trained as a radiologist and then, ran a teleradiology group for so many years and then moved to product strategy, as the chief medical officer also at Zebra. So what has been your journey like? Like, why did you take this transition?
So when you read images all the time, at some point, you kind of could do it in your sleep. And I wanted something exciting and new. AI was exciting and new. And I felt like I brought a very important perspective to the high-tech company. At the end of the day, the high-tech companies sometimes are very focused on the technology and not necessarily what's good for the physician. And I brought the physician voice to the company. And that was really important. At the end of the day, the workflow wasn't right. It wasn't efficient enough. There were too many clicks for the radiologist. You need to market it so radiologists are interested in the product, but not just looking at the productivity, but also the ROI and the clinicians and patients down the road, and what the patients will say, what will be saved in the packs, even though it won't necessarily be 100% accurate. So there's a lot of parts of this that you really needed a physician input, and that's what I brought to the company. And we took a company that had many products that were kind of developed on a somewhat shallow level, and kind of honed in on the most effective use cases and really deepened them, created a lot more workflows and a lot more business opportunities and commercial direction. So it's fun. It's fun to see imaging from a different perspective, more business oriented, commercial oriented. So it just makes life more interesting. At the end of the day, we all work for so many years, and if we don't kind of do something a little bit new every so often, then it just gets boring.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you unlearn like any part of your, clinical education while you're doing product and strategy? Like, what were the parts which you had to really let go of as a clinician?
I don't know that I let go of anything, meaning I still do, even now, 2 shifts a week in my teleradiology practice. I don't want to lose that skill, and I don't want to lose the effectiveness of kind of hands-on in my company, but I still work full-time as a product strategy and chief medical officer in the high-tech world. So I kind of learned how to juggle both. I think any insights I get as a clinician, I always bring to the to the company. So for example, if we're doing a product, and we're not sure, how often you see it in real life. So I'll just take all my cases that I'm reading anyways, and I'll pay attention. Okay, how often is this coming up? How many times would AI have helped me, or a radiologist that's less experienced find something that they may have missed? So I really use one to help the other. And I don't think I've let anything go, really.
Okay. And so from this, my next question would be like, what do you think the AI product teams, like the people who build the product, for radiology, understood better in your radiology workflow?
So I think you need a radiology workflow that is efficient, that the radiologist can agree or disagree as they feel, that the radiologist still feels in control, that it's not that it's explainable, that it's ethically diverse when you make it, so that it doesn't suddenly do strange things when you have a certain ethnic population CT scan. It needs to be generalizable, explainable, efficient, and accurate. So those are a lot of compartments. We could break each one of those down, but I think that we put stress on all those different things. At the end of the day, all of our products have very clear demarcation as to what the AI saw, and very specific measurements of what the AI measured. And so there's no number or nothing that is an output of the AI that it's not clearly evident to the radiologist how it got there. And that allows for comfort level on the radiologist's point of view. We're also upfront with radiologists. I very much believe in being upfront with radiologists. Like, no AI is perfect. That we're not in the state that AI is 100% accurate 100% of the time. And so we really need the radiologist's eyes to just not say, okay, but like see what the AI is saying, agree or disagree with your own intellect that you've been trained to do. It's a companion tool to AI. It's not meant to replace radiologists in any way, and radiologists still offer a very important function to agree or disagree with the AI algorithm. I've had algorithms out there that whenever I train a radiology group, I say we are always looking for feedback and inputs. And I've had radiologists come and listen, your AI is doing this or your AI is doing that. And those inputs that we get from the market are what we use to make version 2 or version 3 of a product. So it's really important to have the radiologist as close, collaborators within any AI product in whatever platform it's used.
And do you see a change in perspective of how radiologists, perceive the use of AI, like being in the industry for so many years,
Yeah.
maybe 5 years in 2020, what were they thinking about AI and what are they thinking now?
Yeah, so in the beginning, radiologists were extremely anti and very hesitant, with a big fear of we're going to lose our jobs. And so people didn't even want to listen so much. And then if we offered them something like, well, I could do that myself, I don't need it. And sometimes that's true, intracranial hemorrhage, radiologists pretty much find intracranial hemorrhage on their own. They don't really need AI to tell them intracranial hemorrhage. So some of the early products, the radiologist arguments were actually pretty valid. In certain use cases, it certainly certainly beneficial. You have a long work list, you can get an intracranial hemorrhage to the top of the list. So there's definitely some benefit to that. Other places didn't find it, but now there's much more interest. Now I think the radiologists have come to realize that radiologists with AI are going to replace those without AI. So they're not going to be able to not have AI. Now the question is, what's the best use case for their practice, for their imaging center, for their hospital, and what's the best thing for their group? And some are really just focused on what's good for me today. So things like productivity type of AI algorithms are more their focus. And some groups have a much broader perspective and look more deeply into the ROI. How do we make money from this algorithm? How do we service our clinicians who will ultimately appreciate the results of this algorithm, even though for me, I don't really need it as a radiologist. So those groups who take a broader view have a much larger breadth of algorithms to choose from. And that's what I promote, because ultimately we're in it for the patient. We try to remind people that it's not just about getting through the work list and getting home at the end of the day. It's also doing better medicine. And I try to promote that all the time. There's a patient, even though you don't see them and you just see pictures, at the end, there's a patient at the other end. And so if you keep that in mind and you have a broad perspective, what AI could I use that'll make this patient ultimately healthier with a better quality of life, and lesions more accurately detected? That's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah. And I think we were discussing this, that radiologists probably can see AI running in the background, but sometimes clinicians might get benefited from it, and then ultimately patients. So what is your point of view on that?
Yeah, so I really believe in that. Again, I went in, I have a job and a company. I don't need the AI. I really went into the world of AI to try to really find the best way to help patients. And so that's a really important passion of mine. So let's take, for example, coronary artery calcium, which is our leading product in Nanox AI. If you think about it, radiologists who are reading CT scans, we've never really quantified coronary calcium. We've never had to. We've never learned to. It's a measurement that we have no capability of doing on our own visually. We just eyeball it. So most radiologists don't even mention coronary calcium. Some mention that it's present. It's not that much information, because present could be a little or a lot. And it's already been seen in many studies that radiologists saying mild, moderate, severe is very inaccurate and very not standardized. One radiologist is mild, the next radiologist is moderate. And so there are clinicians on the other end. And I've spoken to cardiologists that told me that it doesn't matter what the radiologist says, mild, moderate, they don't really know that's accurate. So they don't really take that into account. And that's a shame, because ultimately it's a quantifiable number. I mean, it's measured. And so our product measures all the coronary calcium in the heart and produces a coronary calcium score. So you don't need ECG gating, and you just get a score. Now, from a radiology perspective, I've never provided it. I don't really need it. I don't really care. I'm not going to make money on it. So how is that helpful to me? That's very narrow thinking. Ultimately, for a patient to get a cardiac calcium score on a CT scan they're getting for some other reason is very useful. It can really change their lives if they find out they have a serious coronary calcium. And I've had many, many patients who said, listen, I'm a 48-year-old female biker, and I got a chest CT for rule out pneumonia. Suddenly I find out I have a lot of calcium. You really changed my life and potentially saved my life. And those are stories we get all the time. So if you zoom out and see that there's a patient behind it, the clinicians definitely benefit from it. Finding a patient that has coronary calcium score. The cardiology literature is very, very dense with the protocols of how to treat patients with preventative cardiology and how to treat those that have more aggressive disease and symptoms. And so this tool sits in the background, measures everything for you. The radiologist certainly has to approve or not approve, and they have all the images, and it's all explainable. But the radiologist has to see the bigger picture. There is a patient, the patient would benefit. Work with the cardiology group to kind of provide that information, and then ultimately the patient really gets a benefit. And so we have that with our osteoporosis product and our liver product as well. At the end of the day, patients are smart. We find more and more and more patients who are requesting it because they hear about it, they see it. Hey, I'm getting a chest CT anyways. Why can't you give me the score? We're seeing that more and more. So patients are smart, and so it'll take some time. And we've seen the transition. I've been
And are
following this
patients ready
trend.
to pay for it, like pay extra to get the AI insights?
So patients in general don't like to pay out of pocket because they just assume insurance pays for everything. And it really took time, but patients are now paying out of pocket. So the first algorithm that patients were very comfortable paying out of pocket was the second meter mammo. And that's in the US, very pretty widespread at this point. You can get a mammography for X amount of dollars, or you can get a mammography with AI for Y, and patients are paying for the Y, most patients. Now we're seeing a headway for coronary calcium scoring as well. That patients are offered that when they're getting the chest CT, and they're willing to pay out of pocket as an added result. They don't have to go get more imaging. They don't have to get more radiation. This is kind of a very minimalistic cost for such a valuable piece of information that they're just getting anyway. So we see that more and more. We're starting that in India as well. We're starting that in Europe, and we already have many contracts in the US as well. So patients are smart. And if the physicians or the IT departments are going to kind of be a little slow with incorporating AI, I think patients will ultimately push them in that direction.
Right. So we have a question on the same topic. So the question is, can you touch a bit more on explainability part? What would you expect it to explain? What is the importance of a finding,
Absolutely.
counterfactuals, or something else entirely?
Absolutely. So any AI that I recommend or that we do in our company provides a secondary series that highlights exactly where the AI measured. So if we're measuring, let's say, coronary calcium, we're measuring bone density, we're measuring vertebral body compression factors or liver density, which is just an example of our products. There's a secondary series image that shows exactly on every single slice what the algorithm measured. And so behind the scenes, it's just a calculation. So if you're going to provide an Atkinson score and you know which series were measured, then you know to be comfortable with the Atkinson score that was provided. And if you see one or two slices that you don't agree with as a radiologist, well, then you can use your judgment to say, okay, it's undermeasured by a bit, the number is more or less accurate, it's very inaccurate, and so forth. And so once you see and can understand the AI saw this, and therefore the result is this, if you see what the AI can see with your own eyes, then you're more comfortable with the output of the AI.
Then we have another question, which is for Nanox. Why has Nanox chosen to focus its AI efforts specifically on preventive care rather than other areas of radiology or diagnostics?
That's a great question. I was actually part of that decision back when it was Zebra. So like Nanox bought Zebra. Zebra was involved in lots of different areas. And ultimately it came down to the ROI. At the end of the day, the ROI for productivity tools is weak. The ROI for triage tools, other than stroke, in stroke it's very strong, but other than stroke, all the AI tools for triage, all the AI tools for productivity have a very weak ROI on the other end. Ultimately, it's already been proven, for example, for pulmonary nodules, the logic of the ROI is the radiologist will read faster so they could read more cases, so it'll make money for the radiology group. That's been shown to not be accurate. The AI is certainly a fun tool to have as a radiologist. It's great. It does half the work for you. It doesn't make money for the radiology group. Radiology groups are still buying it because radiologists are demanding it as a companion tool. So I'm not saying it's not useful, super useful. But if you want to focus on the ROI, how do you make money on AI? If you have tools that highlight patients that have disease that previously didn't know they have disease, and now you start a chain reaction, a clinical protocol of how to treat this patient, you take the ROI of a minimalistic, maybe the radiologist can do one more case a day because you got them a pulmonary nodule tool, to you're bringing in millions of dollars to the institution because you're finding patients that exist but don't know that they have disease into the medical arena to have their visits and have their echoes or their stress tests or their stenting or their DEXA or whatever downstream testing and visitations is required to do good medicine, ultimately that brings in many millions of dollars. So the order of magnitude of the ROI is not comparison. And so we decided to focus our attention on what will do the best healthcare and at the same time make the most money for the healthcare system.
Then there's another question. In your experience, what's been the most powerful example where AI caught something invisible in the routine CT scan and truly changed patient outcomes?
Well, it's often not invisible, but it's not really pointed out by the radiologist. What I mean by that is we don't make up anything that's not in the images. It's always in the images, right? Because you're not going to take something and look for something that's not there. But radiologists are reading studies and are pointing out lots of findings, lots and lots of findings on the CT scan. And so sometimes they don't focus on things that are really helpful for long-term patient care, but are no use for immediate. If someone comes in for rule out pneumonia, how much calcium the patient has is not so important for that time. And wasting your time trying to estimate or calculate how much calcium is not useful now. For the patient, you can save their lives. So that's already a really big difference. The same thing actually for aortic calcifications in the abdomen. Most of my patients over age 50 have aortic calcium, but if they have a lot at a young age, that patient's at a really big risk for heart attack or stroke. I don't know any radiologist that makes a comment on that unless it's super severe. That's really critical. So there are lots of things like that, like small aortic aneurysms the radiologist can miss, can have long-term impact. Things like that. Things like bone mineral density. How many focus on the bone mineral density on a CT scan for appendicitis? They don't. And yet that patient, if you find that patient with osteoporosis at age 55 or 60, and you could intervene at that point, you could prevent their hip fracture later on. That changes their whole projection of quality of life and even mortality. Hip fractures have a 25% mortality in the first year from complications. That changes their lives. The preventative health care can have a much, much bigger impact than many of the other tools that AI provides, which I'm not saying those don't have utility too, they do. But we decided our whole company is focused on, preventive healthcare. Instead of just predicting something is going to happen, let's try to prevent it from happening and really intervene in patient care for the benefit of patients. So that's a motto and mission for our company, and so we focus our AI products in that way.
Very interesting. I think my next question from Aditi from our team is, if you were to mention any two disadvantages of AI in radiology, what would they be? What do you think are the two reasons any radiologist would not want to use AI in their practice?
Okay, so AI, ultimately, the saying is AI is going to save time. I haven't had that experience. Any radiologist I know has not had that experience. AI still takes time because you have to validate whatever the AI produces. So it only takes a few seconds, but it does take time. So you need to convince the radiologist that their slightly added time on whatever they're doing is worthwhile to patients. So I have radiology groups say, listen, I don't want to spend the extra 10 or 20 seconds per patient to validate the coronary calcium, for example. It's not worth my 20 seconds per patient. And it's sometimes hard because I know there's a patient on the other end that would have benefits so greatly from that information, and it's not worthy of 20 seconds of the radiologist's time. So that's sometimes a conversation that's a little hard to have. You just need to get them to think the bigger picture rather than the 20 seconds. And then the other thing, listen, AI is not 100% perfect in no product. I haven't yet met a product that is 100% accurate 100% of the time. And so sometimes the inaccuracies frustrate radiologists, especially when the inaccuracies are silly, right? Suddenly the AI will measure something completely off and it's totally a silly mistake that no radiologist would do. And so you need to have that tolerance, like, okay, it messed up on this one, but it doesn't mean that the next 200 are not going to be super accurate. You have to have that ability to have a broader view of the whole thing and just say, okay, this case didn't work out well. I'm either going to override it, not mention it, however they want to deal with it, but don't discount the 200 accurate ones because of the one that's not accurate.
Yeah. There's a question from Youngster Raha Yes, thank you so much for sharing your insights. Is AI used in the product development process, or is AI a product feature?
AI is always used everywhere. Nowadays, anyone that doesn't use AI, you need to explain yourself. Even the coding now, a lot of it's done using AI. So we've had the transformation in our own company in the last year of incorporating a lot of the newer AI tools in everything that we do, from coding to checking quality control to marketing to everything. Everything nowadays, there is an AI tool out there that could help you be more effective and efficient. And so any company, I think every company now is really having an AI program to try to incorporate all these tools. It's the same in AI companies using other AI tools to help develop AI products. So absolutely, absolutely.
So I think one of my questions, Dr. Audit, would be that you mentioned that you are very passionate about radiology, and you also mentioned about your personal life. So we would like to know that how do you juggle between so many roles? You mentioned that you have 9 children and grandchildren, and then you run a full teleradiology practice in Nanox. So how do you do all of this together?
Um, Firstly, I always tell people who talk to me that you have to really want it. Sometimes there are sacrifices, like, you don't have a huge social life, not going drinking every night. Like, I focus my attention on my family and my work and a little bit of other stuff. But the other stuff is a little. So I do have 9 children and thank God 13 grandchildren, and they're kind of in and out of our house all the time. I make sure to focus my weekends on purely on family so that everyone gets the attention that they need. And then during the week, work is a much higher priority and they all know how to juggle around me. So there are child in my lap as I'm reading CT scans, but most of the time I can focus either on one or on the other, and really give my all to both. But I really believe that, life is not just about work or career. And if you want true happiness in life, it's really being surrounded by family or a social network that really keeps you going. So my kids keep me going. I keep them going. Each of my kids is super successful in all their different fields. One is a doctor, and yeah, it's really fun. But you have to really be very focused and dedicated, and just come into everything with a good attitude and a lot of passion.
Super, that's very inspiring. Um, and what would your advice be to, young radiologists, a lot of engineers? I'm sure some of them have joined live on us with us on this webinar today, on, building a career in AI in radiology specifically.
So I really believe AI is the future of a lot of different things, but especially in imaging because it's such a ripe data set. It's so easy to make AI on imaging. And yet we're still in the infant stages of adoption across the industry. And there's a lot more room to go. And I believe it's going to get a lot more dramatic as the large language models progress. I mean, ChatGPT 5 can already pass the USMLEs, and it's just incredible what can be done. I believe that in a while from now I'm not going to say 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, but ultimately at the end of the day, I envision that AI will probably do a preliminary read on every image and produce a preliminary report, just like a resident would now. And then the attending would go and review the case, always be the final validator, and then add or delete or change anything in the report. That will make radiologists a lot faster, and that will change the industry because then you could be a lot more efficient. But we're not there yet. AI is not accurate enough, it's not wide enough, and the regulatory bodies are not capable to even regulate something like that right now. And so it'll be a while, but it's a really fun ride. It's really exciting to see all the different changes. I check every RSNA, you see new and better and different things. So that's a great conference to kind of get a full understanding of what's out there. And it's just an exciting ride to be on. So we'll see how things kind of pan out in the next 10 or 20 years.
Super. So thank you so much, Dr. Orit, for doing this. I think we are just on time, and we try to end this in exactly 30 minutes. So thanks again. And I would like to invite our audience to this webinar, which happens every week. You will see us hosting this webinar here live on Zoom and on YouTube. So Please register if you have not. And thanks once again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.